Okay, we are live.
Meeting to call order. We will have roll call. Mr. Hirsch. Present. Mr. Landwehr. Mrs. Olson.
Here.
Mr. Glonick.
Here.
Mr. Cowley. Here. Mrs. Burnett.
Here.
And I'm obviously here. Let's rise for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can get better on that one. Okay, first item would be the approval of tonight's July 17th, 2023 agenda. Need a motion to approve it?
Make a motion, we approve.
Mrs. Olson makes a motion to approve. Second, Mr. Hirsch. Any other discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the consent agenda, which includes the June 5th regular board meeting minutes and the treasurer's report. In lieu of Mr. Landwehr's absence, Vice President Glonick will be kind enough to read that treasurer's report.
Okay, Treasurer's report as of June 30th, 2023. The general account on June 30th, 2023, there was a balance of $3,229,038.91 in cash and investments. Receipts since the 1st of July, not included in the June 30th balance, are $61,619.51. Distributions tonight's July 17th board meeting total $263,491.22. Flexible spending account on June 30th, 2023, there was a balance of $29,330.41 in cash investments. Health reimbursement account on June 30th, 2023, there was a balance of $10,215.87 in cash and investments. Debt service fund on June 30th, 2023, there was a balance of $673.56 in cash and investments. A more detailed report on fund activity is included for your review and financial statements.
Thank you. Then we had a payment of invoices, which I hope everyone had a chance to talk to Mr. Fletcher. Conduct, you had a question. Resignations / employment, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, we've got two resignations for us for the board. Kim Darst, Iron River Elementary Special Education teacher, is leaving us, as well as Linda Nain Durst, Special Education teacher at Northwestern Middle School. Ms. Durst also, because of the passive timeline, will have liquidated damages that she will have to pay back district before she's released from her contract. So, looking for a motion on that.
Well,
Overall consent, sorry.
yeah. And then employment recommendations.
Brittany Rust to teach special education at Northwestern High School. We're also looking at Art, is it Ames? Amos, sorry. As our new director of transportation. Brett Vanier as the is that right with the last name?
Mm-hmm.
As our administrative assistant / assistant bookkeeper in the district office, and then Isaac Samar. Mr. Samar has been a diesel technician for the past 7 years, and we're looking to approve all of those.
Thank you. Looks like we got some good new employees there.
We do.
It's pretty exciting. Well, then we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Move to approve. Mr. Cowley, motion, is there a second? Second, Mr. Burnett. And any other discussion? None, no discussion, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, we have the approval item. Now, the first one is a sealed bid opening for the building construction house.
Unfortunately, we did not receive any bids, so the second time around, I have not done this long. It's my first year officially doing this part of the job, so. But I can say, in my opinion, and based off people that have been here a little bit longer than me, we've had more traffic through that house this year than we have in the last few years, probably combined. So the interest is there, at least we believe it's there, but unfortunately it hasn't solidified into a bid yet. Some of the concerns that we have is it's tough to book contractors. Trying to do it and stuff right now, it's been a struggle. That might be a contributing factor. I believe and feel confident that we've advertised, we've pushed it out on all our social media aspects of things. It's been a part of our newsletter. I know Lawrence Charlier and his program have put people through that house as well, but the unfortunate truth is, as of today, we do not have a bid. And we'll have to kind of come up with a game plan after this meeting here to figure out what our next steps are with that thing. So that is where we sit right now.
Has there been people in the last couple of weeks, like?
I took 3 phone calls and one person sent out basically plans, things of that nature. Then I did have 2 people actually come through the house with me just to see it. And was hopeful. It seemed, I tried to do my best salesman approach, but
Do we require them to move them by a certain date, and is that a roadblock, I guess?
I think on the bid sheet it says August 1st, but to be honest with you, in my knowledge, I don't think we ever had that house out of here by August 1st. We've always worked with the buyer. To the point where even when school started, that thing was lifted off of there and kind of tucked in the back corner of our parking lot here, and our buses do work around that. So we would obviously be willing to work with any potential bidders on that aspect of things, knowing that we might not have a spot ready at the moment, but we would be able to figure something out. So
Is there an opportunity for someone to make a minimum bid and purchase the house prior to our next meeting, or we'd have to approve that?
as far as I know, we'd have to have a special meeting in order to approve it. I don't believe I have the capability to approve it myself. We would have to get it back in a special meeting.
That especially.
So,
Okay.
but we'll work together in the office there to kind of come up with the next steps essentially. So the house is still there, it's still available for bid. So if you know anybody that's interested, obviously word of mouth is important as well. Please share with anybody that's out there. But we'd certainly be looking to get rid of that thing because we have a class coming in September 1st to build another one, and we don't have 2 places to go to house truck. That's for sure.
And there's some cost to moving it from there to the corner of the lots.
There's we can work with them on that. So,
Because I know I've talked to people, a lot of people know about it, but like, what about like the news station coming here, the newspaper?
I would be open to any kind of avenue we can get to see if we can cast a wider net. To my knowledge, we haven't. It's been a couple of years that we've had a struggle to get some bids. Like last year, we got one, which we were thankful for. It only takes one, but I have no issue with trying to reach out to some of our local media presence to see if we can get the word out even a little bit more than our general footprint.
I made a note of that.
Well,
That's a good idea, actually.
we don't need a motion.
Not that, no, sorry.
That's fine.
So before we move on, it's a little bit unclear to me, and I appreciate your comment there that, you're gonna go back and try to figure out what the next steps are. What should the board expect?
We're still gonna push to try to come up with a viable bid as soon as we possibly can in terms of that. And then, once I get that bid, or we get that bid, it'll be a conversation of we've gotta come together to have a special board meeting to open that bid, because the process is still sealed bids. At that point in time, we'll make the decision as to accept it or not.
Yeah, I guess where my mind is going here is the next time we meet, should we anticipate that if it doesn't sell, that there could be options presented saying, okay, we're either gonna lower the price or try to do something with it, or I don't know what the.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to, that's part of what the options are. Like I said, the bids were due today at 4, so we were hopeful to get one. But the reality is that I don't think we've had a situation like this, at least to my knowledge, this late in the game to not get a bid.
Yeah.
So we're in a little bit of uncharted territory, to be completely honest. And so we will start working a plan together. And if you guys have ideas, thoughts, I'm open to that. But the goal is to find a home for that home somewhere. And move it out of our lot as soon as feasibly possible from whoever is able to bid on that. We understand that we'll have to give and work with whoever that is. And we'll cross that path when we get there.
Cody, does your kind of financial plan rely on the sale of that for acquiring new materials and all that kind of stuff?
Short answer is, yeah, I mean, that building program really is, it's not self-funded, we just don't want to lose money, we don't necessarily make money on
Right.
it either. But yeah, the short answer is that, when we budget with the expenses up front we pay, but we expect the revenue coming back on the other end, so it's kind of at zero right now. We have the expenses of that building without the revenue. So, short answer is that's what we've got to figure out.
Which is a good point, because people might say, well, let's use it for this or use it for something else, but you're talking about $50,000.
Yes.
Roughly that you anticipated in. So
Essentially-
using it for something else.
Yeah, there's $53,000 of materials that we've purchased as a district, that we've done every year, and we don't have the revenue, AKA a bid, coming back on that aspect of things to offset that dollar.
Thank you.
We have to tell, if somebody with land, they would set the house, and probably sell it faster if it was sitting on lot.
Yep.
I mean, I'd probably sell tomorrow.
That's to get it to that point, I do believe that's what I worry about, if I guess I'm being candid, is trying to find the right contractors to get it to a point of selling. I mean, obviously you need either a basement or a slab to get it on, you got HVAC, you got plumbing, you got electrical, drywall, and all the
We got
interior.
sewer, well,
Yep.
if somebody has a vacant lot, it's a lot.
Yeah, so there's some moving pieces there that I haven't heard directly from anybody, but I believe are part of the issue that we're having right now. Because I know from our aspect of things, it's tough to find those people. They're all booked, they're all busy. In terms of that.
Okay, moving on to approval item B is the 2023-24 Board of Education goals.
As you remember, last month we had our board retreat, and we kind of set our goals for the school year. Just kind of revisit them. Number 1, increase student achievement. 2, mental health support for students. 3, funding options for long-range capital project plans, including investigating renewable energy. 4, attract and retain high-quality instructors and support staff. A for that is support staff steps equal step compensation, and then B, teacher compensation. And then 5 was promote communication with municipalities, community members, staff, and students. If you looked in your packet, you saw kind of the district's positive achievements, strategic needs for the district, and then kind of how all of our voting went along with the different things we had on the board that night. So we're looking to approve, is there any discussion, or otherwise we're looking to approve the goals for them?
Any questions for each other?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to comment and say that I think these are really lofty goals. And, I applaud the board for being able to say, hey, let's have some high expectations. But that's gonna require a lot of work, for not just us, but those that are involved. But I look forward to this becoming, goals with substance and not just something they put on there and forget about, but that we have real actionable plans to how we're gonna achieve those. So,
And like I said, we'll be meeting with the admin team when they come back in August and kind of set the building goals,
Yeah.
off of these goals.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve this, the goals for 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the goals as stated.
Mr. Hirsch.
Second.
Second by Mr. Glonick. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 5C, 23-24 food service and meal prices.
So this is an annual July event, try to look at setting meal prices for the upcoming school year. So in your board enhancement there, I work kind of alongside our food service contractor, DPI. I obviously consult with our food service director, Jackie Wicklund. And what it boils down to is we're looking at a 10-cent increase per meal next year, so 10 cents more than what it was last year in breakfast and also lunch. So the meal prices are in the enhancement there in terms of where those are at. And then with board approval this evening, this will go out in our district newsletter, so we do communicate it out to our parents as well. Essentially elementary breakfast, $1.25. Elementary lunch, $2.85. Middle school, high school breakfast, $1.25. Middle school, high school lunch price, $3.10. Adult breakfast, $2. Adult lunch, $3.95. Then you have the reduced numbers there, 30 cents for breakfast and 40 cents for lunch. So pretty standard operating procedure at this point in time in the year to improve that, but it's a modest increase due to the price of food still being what we all don't want, but also trying not to tax our families too much with regards to some of the increased costs as well.
And the key thing in the food program is there is free and reduced
Yes.
rates that, help people too.
We will be working to get that information out as well as part of this.
Okay, any questions?
I do have a question, and I don't know if anybody can answer this. I haven't had a school lunch in a very long time. What is the, I'll say the quality of our lunches? And, I mean, to me, the pricing is a bargain, okay? But what is the quality like? In other words, I'm thinking about the nutritional factor in our, what are the feed your kids?
Well, let's see. Go back to when you were a student. You always got your pizza on Fridays or your fish on Fridays, and you had a hot dish and that. You don't always get the home cooked meals now because of state guidelines, but I think with the food service groups that feed the schools, they try to make sure we have fruit, they try to make sure we have vegetables, and they try to make sure we have a solid meal for them. I don't know what it's here, but other schools I've been at have been decent. So I mean, it's pretty much standard across the state, unless people have a huge budget and are bringing in all this fresh food every day, but that's pretty darn expensive. It's not many people are able to do that. But I think overall, what they're getting for lunch and breakfast is pretty good.
So Mr. Martin, I mean, there's standards we have to hit in order to qualify for some reimbursements on meals. So a lot of that's dictated by our school lunch program, our FDA, to be a part of that as well in terms of sugar content, salt content, all that stuff is still part of the equation. And what we can and can't sell via a la carte and things of that nature as well. So I don't eat lunch just too often. I don't know, Ms. Craig, if you want to chime in because you're the lunch expert.
Wow, everyone looks at me and knows I eat hot lunch every day. I think that our staff does an amazing job, and I truly mean that. I do eat lunch. I eat with the students, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade lunch. There's fresh vegetables, fresh fruit. Strawberries are amazing. There's always dressings for everything. I think students, the biggest request, they ask for salt, which is good because it means that what they're eating, they don't feel is very salty, so they want more salt. But other than that, there's always like Mrs. Dash available for them. But there's a chili that's delicious, and there's spaghetti. I eat every day with them. So, and I think it's like you said, the price is great. And I think that there's other things, sometimes maybe I don't want all of the breading on the cheese bread, or there's certain things that the students, I think they very much appreciate the work, the energy, and the selection. There's usually at the middle school 2 or 3 the student has gluten, needs to be met, there's always a fourth option for that as well. And they can do salad bar and fruit, but, I invite anyone on the board that would like to, you get a copy of the menus right on the website, I can email it to you. But, come have lunch with us if you like, or come a couple days and, they're really good about what, if there's a guest in the building, the kitchen helping out with that, so feel free.
Come to think about the 2 times I was here, to meet with Dr. Cronin, I had lunch and actually the meal was really good, so.
So you're reinforcing what I was thinking, at $3.10, it's a bargain, it's a good
Sure.
deal.
Yes, I mean, I'm sure students would love, fast food, the college cafeteria where you've got, like a food court, that would be great, but I think for feeding 1,200 students and all of the staff that I see come eat, I think they do a really good program.
Do think it's
Another challenge is the kids like the meals, and I constantly ask the kids, how are the meals?
Yeah,
They've been really positive in the last couple
they
of
do.
I think is it Waffle Wednesday?
It's popcorn, chicken rolls, or,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of
They really
things.
like The 10% increase is kind of in line with a lot of
Yeah.
local districts around us, really across the state. So I do consult with EPI on this too, just to kind of get a feel for what else is out there. That's a fair number in my opinion.
I think our lunch options are better maybe than our breakfast. Especially with the à la carte stuff, I would like to see that be eliminated. The
Yeah.
sugared cereal bars and Pop-Tarts, or I don't remember what else we used to do.
Yes.
The breakfast is a lot of prepackaged.
Prepackaged, very,
Grab and
a
go.
lot of
And that's,
not real stuff in them, not real food.
Yeah.
And I felt like I have to say something, because when I was teaching here, I stood in front of the board, trying to talk about how we could make those meals a little bit healthier.
Yeah, and they're trying to kind of meet so many different needs, like for our students who come in really quick and want to head up to classes or go meet the teacher or head down to the gym, so they do want that grab and go option. The grab and go typically is going to be packaged, but I think they are working smarter and really advocated for that, with more like a yogurt smoothie or more of a, there's always a fresh fruit, apples, bananas, for students to grab too. But yes, you're right, there's a Pop-Tart in front of a student, and you can make a prediction what someone's going to grab, right?
If I had an apple or a brownie.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I had to take the.
Agreed on breakfast.
Okay, we'll reel it back into the prices, and which was, and you get a motion to approve the minimum meal ticket price increase.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Mr. Devonish,
minimum meal ticket price increase.
I'll second that.
okay, you got a second, Mr. Olson. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, and the milk bids.
So yeah, along the lines of feeding them, we also do get the milk. So pretty standard July procedure for us here too. You have 3 different bids in front of you. I have, again, talked to Jackie Wickler, our food service provider. These are the three different companies that provided us bids back. And the price is listed there for you. And as a general rule of thumb, we look at a couple different things, price driving the main factor, but also what is is the supplier consistent? Is there any issues with that? And talking with Jackie, all 3 of these suppliers we've worked with in some cases throughout the years, and we don't have any concerns about any of that stuff. So all things being equal, based off of price, you can see there which one's the lowest, which is Upper Lakes Foods.
Okay.
So, and sorry if this is in here, Upper Lakes were they the previous supplier as
So
well?
Upper Lakes has supplied to us. They did not last year. They did not provide a bid last year due to some fluctuation, still some of the after effects of COVID and things of that nature. But they have provided milk to us in the past as well, but not last year. So we have used, we have relationships with all 3 of these providers, either through food service, milk, but milk bids are the ones that we try to get locked in for the year.
Do we just end?
We do it annually. We go through a lot of cartons of milk throughout the year. I can't remember the exact number. It's in the tens of thousands throughout the school year.
Okay, we have the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept the recommendation? Upper Lakes Foods.
I move to accept.
Mr. Cowley, motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Burnett, second, all those in favor say aye.
I-
Is that roll call vote, Mr.?
Do we need roll call on money?
It's moved, it's a contract. Yes.
Let's, I don't know if we need a roll call, but let's do it anyway. Is that- I think we'll do it anyway, just say, Mr. Cully,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Bonnet,
Yes.
Mr. Burnett.
Yes.
I need to vote on both of those. So, motion carries. Okay, now we have the report and recommendations from the curriculum meeting that was held prior to this meeting.
Yeah, we had a curriculum meeting that about adding a new course to Northwestern Middle School for sixth grade choir. The committee approved the course and would like to add that. We're looking for a recommendation on adding sixth grade choir to the courses for the students.
And
Sherry, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think you covered it well. Just the fact that this is going to give our sixth graders just another choice, and we were able to do that through the genius of our middle school staff without any more additional staff or funding. So it's a win-win.
I kids too. I was able to sit in on the meeting, and I think I'm very impressed with the collaboration, cooperation of the staff, principal, Ms. Greg. It's a great thing. People are excited about it. So if you're excited about it, the kids will be excited.
Very true.
So any other discussion on that?
Just comment, a lot of parents and kids express interest, which helps get this going, so that was good.
That's great. I would say that our music department is great, underrated maybe, because people don't know how great it is. It's, the concerts are just fantastic. The musical, of course, is great. So, I would encourage all of the board members to attend as many of the concerts and events as possible. Anyway, so is there a motion to approve the recommendation to add sixth grade choir to the curriculum?
I'll make a motion to add sixth grade choir.
Motion by Ms. Burnett, second by
Second.
Mr. Bonnet.
If you're on the committee.
Yes, Steve, for the second, you can.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay.
Level 3 pause here. We are going to go to the item F, adoption of the Wisconsin Model Standards, Common Core Standards, and National Science Standards for District 23-24.
Yep. So Wisconsin State statute says annually, each school board shall include an item on the agenda of the first school board meeting of the year, a notice that clearly identifies the pupil academic standards adopted by the school board that will be in effect for the school year. School District of Maple adopts the Wisconsin Model Standards, Common Core Standards, and the National Science Standards. A link of these standards can be found on our webpage. Notice may be provided electronically, including posting the notice or a link in the Public Academic Standards on the school's district's internet site, which we have. So we are looking to approve that as the adoption of these standards for the school year, the Wisconsin Model Standards, Common Core Standards, and the National Science Standards. Questions or discussion?
So I would say that I took the opportunity to spend some time reviewing that Common Core standard as published on the website there. And I was really impressed with how thorough and like, holy cow, this math section is 240 pages long, you know? And I'm like scrolling, oh my goodness, somebody's putting a lot of time into that content. But it was clearly laid out in a manner that was easy to follow and the expectations, in my opinion, were pretty clear. I'm looking at you guys and see what you're not in agreement. So I certainly make a motion to approve as stated.
If you have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. So, any further discussion? Thank you for that. Any other further discussion?
Are there school districts that opt to create their own? I pulled them up quick and I was like, well, this looks like
Be honest, there's probably smaller districts in the state that don't use Common Core standards and like, you know, have developed their own curriculum still and try to develop their own standards that they go by. So you do see some districts that do that still, but I know the Common Core standards have kind of been the big thing that everybody's gone with.
seems like the logical.
Yeah.
Right, just curious.
Good question. There's never a bad question.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Seclusion and restraint report for 22-23.
Okay, what else I want to play? Gee, okay, had to find my notes again here. So the report, this report is required by the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction for board approval by September 1st for each year. Once approved, we submit it to the DPI. As you can see in your packet, we've only had, there was one student that had to be restrained, and so the numbers are outstanding for the district. So that's always a plus. So we're looking to approve this report.
Any questions on this? I'll entertain a motion to approve the seclusion and restraint report for last school year.
I recommend that we approve it.
Motion by Mr. Cowley. Is there a second?
I want to ask one question first if I can.
Look, can you get a second, then we'll discuss.
Okay. All right, I'll hold my question.
We don't have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, now we have a second. Mr. Hirsch.
The question is in regards to the number of trained staff.
Yep.
And I'm not challenging the numbers, but it's interesting to me that the Northwestern Elementary School got a 26, and the others are lower. My question is, what is their expectation? What, in other words,
So
are these numbers spot on where we should be? Are they
Well-
to exceed our expectations? Or they low?
I'll tell you, the goal is never to restrain any students. Okay, that's the number one goal, is not to have to restrain any students. But in certain cases, when students might have meltdowns or just they get into a place where they're unsafe for themselves or for other staff or students, they have to be restrained for a while. That's why we use non-crisis violent intervention, and we learn how to do the holds in the correct manner, the right way. I was looking at this as well over the weekend, and the number of staff that we do have trained here is great.
Okay.
I mean, because there's some districts that I've been in, you've had maybe 6 or
Sure.
5 or 3. They were always calling me because I had to be the guy that kind of dealt with this stuff, and because a lot of people don't want to, they're afraid to restrain a student, but we had to make sure that our staff is trained and we do it the right way, and they always have a partner, and so it's a good thing. So the number of staff that we have trained here is really good. I feel when I saw that number, I said, you know what, this is a good thing.
Does anybody know if I onboard somebody new, is this one of the line items on there?
So this is, the numbers that you have reflected here are typically all of all of our special education staff. So, Allison Nielsen has taken this over, but she is our in-house trainer, so she meets with new employees. There's also some, after a specified period of time, there's a renewal course that you have to take. It's a blended model of both online learning and then some kind of face-to-face.
And Allison is a trainer.
Allison is our trainer.
So that was something that we always had to have somebody from CCA come up and pay that extra, for a training for a day. And when you have somebody in-house that's trained to train the staff, that's another plus.
Yeah, sure.
So this training that we do with Carlton Dale, it's a last resort. It's not something that it's an imminent threat to harm themselves or others, is when we have to use strength. We don't want to, don't ever try to get there. But about 85% of it is just good de-escalation techniques that help our staff try to not get into that situation, because it's a lose-lose. The student is out of control. They're obviously in a state of difficult situation, and also our staff. It's stressful for them too. We work through it together, but the numbers have always been pretty good for our district compared to some. Our goal is obviously 0, never, but we don't always get there. In terms of that, we do have to get there. We do have a number of staff that are trained appropriately to do it the right way, do it the same thing.
Appears we're well prepared. Good. What happens.
So kudos to Allison on this. She's really been the lead up. Even when I was a special ed director, she was our in-house trainer, does an excellent job with this program.
Okay, we already had a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving this report, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, the activity bus ridership cost and possible continuation.
Cody, you want to take this one?
So I've got a little history here. As you guys, some of you are aware, we did away with the activity bus routes for the high school level for the winter and fall sports due to ridership issues. The board wanted to look at spring sports, so Stacy Fidali down in transportation put this document together, and she uses to track kind of ridership throughout the spring season. And it's a little bit, print is a little bit tough. Basically, it shows April 23 and May 23 on 2 different pages there. The reality is, in terms of number of riders, so we run 3 buses that do communal drop-offs at various places. It's not door-to-door like our after-school routes. It's dropping off at a gas station, a post office, a town hall, and then parents get the kids from there. The highest number of students that we had on a bus at any given time was 9, and there were multiple times where we didn't have any riders on buses. So the day there that's listed is actually, should say date, not day necessarily. And then the column when number of riders being from NHS, we average anywhere from 0 to 9 would be the most that we've had on a bus. And those are our big buses. As you've heard me talk about in the past, the reality is that putting that bus down the road, whether it has 1 student on it or 50 students on it, it's going to burn about the same amount of fuel in terms of that. So this is where we left it is the board wanted to come back and assess what is the ridership of our activity bus in the spring. I think the main thing that we looked at was middle school sports. A lot of our high school students that don't drive are able to usually find rides. But the ridership is there for your review.
Well, it's for the track and field, because it's the big numbers.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
What are these what is Becky's route? Tony's that her name? Mike's, what area are they? Which one is the Iron River route, I guess?
I believe it's Mike Ross.
He has the least. Oh, really?
I'll have to double check that. I apologize. I should have had that for you.
No,
Yeah, we try to cover basically divide the district into thirds as much as possible. We got the eastern side. We do run up kind of north of here a little bit too, and then go all the west to the Hawthorne area and that kind of stuff. But,
I thought the Iron River would be the bigger number one.
yeah, my knowledge.
Yep.
So those are the numbers roughly in terms of if we were to look at what we spent per student rider. They're there for you. These are hard decisions, decisions that nobody really likes to make, but the options are to continue running the routes. I would assume that ridership will be very similar next spring as it was this spring. I guess I can't guarantee that because we don't know participation, obviously, but we wanted to try to get some numbers to you for your review.
And is any of these routes option to use a van or something else that would cost? Or is that-
We've,
Can't remember what we talked about.
we had, I know that was talked about. The hard part is that the vans are limited. And what I mean by that is the most we can put in a van is 9. We have 10 passenger vans, which won't, the cost of driving those is gonna be less than a bus. We still have to pay our driver the same fees. There are, legally we can do it. We're not dropping students off on the highways. We don't need our flashing lights and stop arms and all of their stuff. That's an option, I guess. We could look the price out if you guys want to try to do that.
Well, the thing, but a bus driver's not gonna come in, grab a van and go do that.
That's what, it would be the driver most likely, yeah.
We'd have to,
So there are
There's
some
no
hurdles.
guarantee that van would be there
That's-
either.
that's
right.
because-
Because of golf and anything else that's going on.
Our vans are very busy in the springtime usually. That's just the reality of it, so it's, I would anticipate having a number of hurdles to do that every night, every two nights a week is what I should say, not every night. Especially when our spring sports season typically becomes very compressed due to cancellations and weather issues, so
So currently it's only been 2 nights a week, it hasn't been,
we don't run.
we're finding rides those other days.
And I can't remember the middle school practice schedule, you might be able to have me on that one. The middle school's not practicing every night.
Wednesday and Friday.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, so.
But it looks like, to me, like there's like 15, 16, 17, if you add the two buses.
What I would recommend if the board wants to consider keeping buses, the reality is that running 3 is probably not real. It just doesn't, the numbers don't bear out that we need to run 3 buses.
However, if you
But
run,
if you run 2, the reality comes now, you're covering more ground, we're putting more miles on, and we're paying drivers longer.
And parents have to go farther
Yes.
to pick up their child.
There's no perfect answer on this one, there isn't. And the hard question that I'm guessing you're all asking is if we just discontinue this, does that mean that so-and-so does not get the opportunity to participate? I can't answer that question for you. I wouldn't be able to say, 3 students would be able to participate without this, or 50 students would be able to participate without
and
this.
there's no fee to rent, right? So,
Have they ever done a survey to parents to see if they would use the bus in spring to get their kids home?
I don't, not that I know of, in my time.
I think this was the first year we did this.
we used to have it year round. I don't do that. Now we cut it to just the spring because that was.
So.
Do we know what other North schools do? I did ask, I know when I was in Spooner, I asked if they had them, they don't have activity buses.
I couldn't answer that. At this point in time, I can certainly get that information.
Well, I don't wanna make more, I was just curious to see if we're,
More of the fewer.
yeah.
I cannot.
We're one of the largest geographic districts in the state, and I understand the facts and figures and the financial situation we're in.
Is that something though, okay, so say we didn't make a decision tonight, but we came back in like January when we're starting to think about spring sports and made a survey out to parents. Hey, would you consider, is your child gonna be playing spring sports in the middle school? Would you use transportation to bring them home, or do you have your own ride? If the numbers came back that supported what we've seen, like only a few kids, then maybe make your decision and discontinue. But if parents knew that, hey, I don't know, just thinking out of the box a little bit.
Well, I think these numbers are the same as they were last time.
The fact of the matter is, trending wise, our activity buses ridership has gone down immensely in the last couple of years. Now, if the board wants to table it, I'm okay with that. I don't know if I would table it until January from the aspect of I gotta try to plan a budget for it, and our transportation director will be part of that now. We have time in terms of that, but we get into the, February, March timeframe of things, I think it's a little bit tougher because we'll have to come up with,
I mean, I see the only way it works if you had a pile of kids in a bag. I mean, I remember stop in the middle of the city, drop them off, and they all walk home. But all these other places, parents are driving there anyways. So it's just a little bit further to get here. And if this Iron River's not using it, like that's the route. No, basically one kid, most of them zero and stuff. Doesn't pay off.
It's available to the high school students too.
Yes. You know, this list, and I can potentially try to get that, it does not delineate between middle school riders and high school riders. That-
I wonder if because baseball and softball, like they're not here,
Right.
so they don't need an activity bus because they're not here anyway.
the
Cross
majority-
country drives to different destinations for practices, that's
Golf.
fall.
I mean,
Well,
I don't think anybody's here.
to that point, when we cut the fall route, did we notice any adverse effect from that?
Not that I've heard. Like I said, and part of that is, in my opinion, a lot of our fall sports start in the summer. I mean, we're starting in August, so
Yeah.
we, in some cases, have a few games in at least 2 weeks of practice. So parents, one way or the other, are figuring out how to get their students, at least at the high school level, to and from home, right? Whether it be riding with them.
And I always want to offer solutions as we take something away here. Can anybody speak on behalf of parents that are working together for ride share?
Or with the team reach out, that's like the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Say my kid needs a ride, so.
I will say I see it, you know, I coach football and I guarantee you there's, you know, I joke with a couple of families that they're running a parent Uber for the week or for the day or,
Yeah.
you know.
And that being, my recommendation, hey, we're gonna pull back here to be smart about how we use our resources, but we encourage the use of Team Reach, for example, for people to ride share.
Well, that's a good point. The communication is a lot better than it was 20 years ago.
I don't know if you can speak to this or not from the middle. I think this, in my opinion, that this decision will heavily affect the middle school the most. For the most part, our high school athletes, for what you talked about, Kat, our spring sports are going different directions. The only spring sport that practices here is track and field.
So I would agree, our coaches do a phenomenal job. If I know a student wants to participate, but the barrier is transportation, do a phenomenal job, whether it's through Team Reach, our families use it as well. I'm running late from work, one of my students, I'm connected to most of the Team Reaches and most of that, so they do a phenomenal job, but it's another compliment to our Tiger community and families that they are willing to run rural Ubers out here. So I think if we continue to dialogue, and I think it's also important too, like of those 15 and 17 that are riding, I will assume that it's out of necessity, but sometimes it's out of convenience too, right? There's a lot of staff parents that just ride the bus home, even though if we're in the same, and you have that luxury that you're in the same building, but some of it's just convenience too. But I think, like Vince said, if we offer some solutions, that if participating is a barrier, connect with the adults in the building or the coaches, and we'll connect you with resources and options. And if we're finding that there is a barrier, an issue, then we may need to look at some kind of way to provide that. But I think, yeah, they do a great job with that.
Comment, a lot of districts don't have middle school sports.
Right.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we discontinue the spring activity bus. But along with that, I want to make sure that communication is well in advance, people aren't surprised by it, so they can, find solutions and it's good communication.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hirsch. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Giovanni. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, the auto gas facility agreement. Mr. Prescott.
Yeah, you guys have, and I will give credit where credit's due. Lester Weese, your former transportation director, and I met with representatives from Midland and from Como Oil with regards to, this is going back into Paul Stafford's days here. We looked at the possibility of getting a bulk propane storage tank on our campus to aid in decreasing the transportation costs that we have getting the propane to us. So our current setup, we have two 1,000 gallon capacity down at the transportation garage. And in a typical week, we're filling that twice, in terms of that. Give you a good idea. So we run 17 propane buses, or will run 17 propane buses next year. Due to the kind of the cost of the tank itself, permitting, insurance, inspection type things that come along with that, I wasn't part of those conversations, but it just wasn't feasible to bring it on campus, for lack of a better term. So we met with, like I said, the representatives and approached the idea that Midland has a tank right next to Maple Hill. Como has a tank just east of the old Sundown Cafe. At that point in time, Como didn't express that they could do it. But Midland said we would take a look at it. And then we met probably in October, November, and this is the kind of their work in terms of that. So there is what would happen was if we make this agreement, it is a commitment of 7 or 10 years, which is the two options that they gave us. Midland would put in the pump service station themselves. They would handle all the costs and logistics of that. Essentially, it looked like a gas pump with the ability to fill 2 buses at one time. Cost savings for us, the pumps that we have pump 4 gallons a minute right now. These pumps will pump 28 gallons per minute. So essentially, we like filling up your car for the most part, where we have to rotate our buses through. So the person in the back of the line might be waiting close to an hour to fill their bus on a given day, just the way it is. The other chief advantage to going with this contract with Midland is a cooperative, so we do offer patronage that based on the amount of fuel that we burn would be about $4,000 to $5,000 a year going back to us. They handle all the maintenance. They would handle all the. They would actually train our drivers. It's basically an electronic monitoring system where they had a driver ID. They plug in that number. They would plug in the mileage, and then it logs the amount of gallons that it gets. So all of that automated. There's not a lot of parts that they have to worry about or anything along those lines. It's close. Obviously, it's just a quarter mile down the road here. It's accessible right off the highway too. The parking lot looks like it has great space. We don't have tightness there, concerns there. They would handle all the snow plowing of it, all those pieces of costs. And like I said, what it would really save for us is time, efficiency, and some other fees that we're paying on a 2-time-a-week basis to get that truck in.
We still maintain the 2 tanks.
We would have to probably for a period of time in terms of that, because it's going to take probably about, we anticipate 12 weeks to get that facility up and running, which does put us into the school year. But we'll cross that path. We still, and then we also do have a diesel tank down there as well. We still have a few buses that are diesel in terms of that. So that tank would stay. So I anticipate the Caldwell tanks being there at least the first one in September.
Is every new bus we get a propane bus?
That is what we're looking at, yeah. So talking with Lester, former transportation director, mechanics down there, our drivers like them. They've been pretty reliable for us. We know, if they do have issues, how to address them. They warm up quickly. They heat really fast as well. There are some rebates typically when you buy new buses. There are some grant programs out for that kind of stuff for clean energy. So from a route bus standpoint, we anticipate staying with propane. I know electric is coming, it's out there. We've looked at it. The reality is there's a couple of hurdles there right now as of today. One, the availability of it. 2, they do not seem to work as well in winter or the charges don't last as long in cold weather. Perhaps the biggest hurdle in my opinion is that our drivers park their buses at home and we'd have to figure out how to put charging stations at their homes, which is going to be a cost. And the fourth thing there is we're not set up to work on it yet. I mean, they require some special tools, different lifts, and those buses are heavy. So that's part of why I recommend the 7-year contract for us. I don't see us going away from propane buses in the next 7 years. It gives us time to kind of evaluate what may or may not have changed technology-wise.
Are those pumps only get BLUs for a bus? Like if you had semi truck pulls in there, could they fill up there?
That, as far as I'm aware, that it's going to be specific to us, because we're gonna pay, there's an overhead that we'll end up paying for it. So what I look at, as to be honest with you, is we were paying the delivery fees or some of the overhead for the pumping system at the end of 7 years, that we can reevaluate where we're at. Full disclosure, I don't have a crystal ball for 7 years down the road, but I don't see us going away from that anytime in the near future.
One challenge that the bus drivers had on the trip buses, finding a refueling
But
spot, like in lacrosse, it was
yeah,
a weird spot.
and our trip buses are still young in age right now for the most part, but if we do get to a point where we do need to buy our trip buses again, my recommendation would be diesel or gas, just for strict ease of refueling when we do go on the road trips. That is a hurdle. Lester talked to me about that. He said if we ever do change trip buses, that's what he would recommend is gas or diesel. There's a lot of gas and diesel as opposed to propane. We do have to chase it sometimes. There are some plans that we have to make sure that we're laid out before we go on our longer trips.
Can I ask you to help me understand, so number one in the proposed agreement? My question is regarding the time frame for the fixed price contract.
Yep.
Can you double click on that? How'd they come up with September 1st?
So, as I understand it, this is pretty standard in the propane world. There's a lot of volatility in that market. So it's what we have now currently, we've had with our past provider with Como, is they'll lock in the price for us from September 1st till April 30th, which from a budgetary standpoint is really, really nice for me because I know roughly on average what we burn. So I can say, okay, here's the number I came up with on the budget roughly for what I believe propane is. Is that number going to be higher or lower than what I initially thought?
Same as getting propane for your house.
They won't lock in beyond that just because it's too much of a risk, as I understand it, for the company to say, well, we'll give you the same propane price for 2 years. The reality is that
No, I wouldn't expect that. I just want to protect ourselves regarding kind of the margins here. Before September 1st and after April 30th.
Yep.
You know, and what does that look like?
what it functionally is for us and what we burn, it's the month of May. I mean, really. So first day of school is September 1st. And then what has usually happened, unless there's some huge fluctuation, is that price remains the same until the end of the school year for us. I mean, we're not burning propane right now. Our buses obviously are all back and going through some maintenance. So the volatility that we might have typically is only going to be the month of May. If that makes sense. And a little bit of June, a couple days in June.
And unlike us at home, you don't have the luxury of buying when it's cheap and riding that through the year. You pretty much got to be filling that thing up constantly. So.
For me, like I said, I believe it's going to be a good program for us. I think it's a win-win on both sides. It allows us to try to save money where we can. The 10-year agreement runs a little longer than it's not a huge cost savings. As I said, my board can answer. Other questions? This is like I said, an idea that we've tried to look under every rock to see if we can just be more efficient with the dollars that we have. We know we're burning propane, roughly 50,000 gallons a year.
So only 10 years or 7?
7 years.
7 years. That's what I have, is always.
Thank you and Mr. Weezy for,
Yeah, I
and
do
Mr.
want
Staff for
to give credit to Lester. A lot of this was, we work alongside, a lot of it was his work.
would this require a roll call vote? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Spending money at some point. So, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement with Midland Services.
I'll make a motion to approve the 7-year agreement with Midland Services.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Oh,
And I heard her first. Renette. Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve this auto gas facility agreement. We will take a roll call vote. Mrs. Renette?
Agreed.
Mr. Glavine?
Yes.
Ms. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd? Yes. Mr. Cowley?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carried.
Students voting.
Thank you.
Mr. Cole.
Now we have, policies, revisions.
So, back on the 22nd, we met with Neola rep, and he kind of went through our policies and made revisions where they needed to be made based on on some state laws, and most of them are minimal changes, but we're looking to approve these revisions. And technical changes. So it goes revisions and technical changes, sorry.
So we should read the numbers in there on the motion, just the
Not
ones as.
No, not
as
necessarily.
shown. Okay. So is there any questions before we have a motion? Any-
I guess, I had, thank you for showing me some things and what, finding these things, but can you just elaborate, regarding your comment about, there's some sections that have Dr. Troney listed in there,
Yes.
and obviously that's
We
gonna be
talked about that
transferred.
today, go ahead.
Yep. So there's gonna be, so there's stuff that was done, that was approved by Dr. Coney. Now, with me on board, they'll be approved by me. Now, Neola's working on a way to change everything that, as I'm the new district administrator, so it'll all end up saying, approved by Carl Moore. So it's just a process. Yeah, they're
It is.
working on it, and it takes a while for them to go through and make those changes, but
Yeah,
they will eventually be made and it goes right online, so.
Respectfully, if I can.
Yeah, sure.
What has happened is because many of the policies that we bring forward, they are required by statute to list a specific name. You can't just say the district administrator, it has to have a first and a last name and a contact. And there's many with Dr. Coney, there's some in there still with Paul Stafford's name. What happened is, I've talked to Neola about the changes because the ones that we brought to you specifically today had Mr. Moran's names on them. But it referred to the other policy, the satellite policies that had Dr. Coney's names on them. What they're doing now, I said, because I would have to go back in all through the hundreds of policies and let them know which ones need to be changed. Mr. Moran, Neola advised us not to do that. They've gotten a lot of stuff from the other schools because district administrators and principals have been changing so much that they are in the middle of a program that should be ready in the next month or so, where they can do just a mass change. So just like in Word with search and destroy, as I call it, search and destroy, search and replace. So that's gonna be happening both in the business manager and superintendent, because those are the things that need to be made. It's taking a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take, but it should be ready by the time fall is here.
yeah, no worries, so I think for the board to be aware, that anticipate there's gonna be some updates to get some of those, names. that
You
we
won't
did.
see those because that's, the ones that they're changing the names, they won't come back to the board because those are technical changes, which we have approval to do those, the things that are not significant to the content of the policy per se.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, why should it, so.
So there's an awful lot here, and I'm just curious, is there anything in here that's like going to be?
Like a major change or anything?
Yeah, like anything that the staff
That
is
they-
gonna be like,
Like upset about or?
yeah, I mean, is it gonna be something?
No,
that-
it was pretty, the changes in there were pretty just basic changes. There was no like controversial things or anything that would be, upheaving that you'd want to meet with the staff. Cause if there was something like that, I'd say we're gonna hold off on this because I want to talk to staff about it before we do that. So a lot of it's just verbiage, couple state laws. I know, I think Adam had a question about, I think the one with the vapes and that, and it's just, it was just to kind of let them know that, cause, I think it was, cause it kind of went over everything, they put in the vapes and the cartridges and things like that. So we just wanted some clarification on that, but no, they're pretty, they're for the better, and they're just, like I said, there's nothing that's gonna be, I don't, yeah, controversial on that, so.
Can I ask a question with the voting, item? Is that post-COVID now, is that gonna stand as far as?
You would have to bring it to the board, somebody would have to talk to the board.
Oh, just for discussion for these? I was just wondering if I'm reading this right?
Oh, you mean that we still allow it?
Yeah, from what I'm reading from what was struck out, it was like the old verbiage as far as having to be present, and now the new, I'm just wondering if that's like post-COVID and that's gonna stay.
But that you can change anytime.
Well, we're voting on change right now.
Oh, that's not what we're doing right now. I'm fine,
Yeah.
I was just curious to know if that's, okay, gotcha.
Good question. See, there's not a bad question, so.
Is this related to,
Is that a bait?
It's handbooks.
Those are the handbooks are there, sorry.
okay,
I had to see what you had in your hand there, like, I'm like, what is that, junk drive or is that?
This is gonna come back to the board.
Okay. But we're not there yet.
so
We're not
this
the first
is,
reading yet, right?
this is the policy revisions?
Okay, so wait, one second.
Yes.
Just to remind the board that under 5340, the student accidents, illness, concussion, and sudden cardiac arrest, that one is the first reading. That's gonna come back to the board next month for its final reading, so I'm so aware of that.
Okay, so it includes the revisions, 0100 through 8500, the first reading 5340, and then technical changes. So we need a motion to include these policy revisions, technical changes.
The first reading is a draft only, we don't have to approve that.
Yeah, okay. Straight down. But read it. Okay, I'll entertain a motion then for that. There's so much, there's a little bit of reluctance to make the motion.
I've read through the changes and I'll make a motion to approve the policy.
We have a motion, Mr. Hirsch, is there a second? Mr. Colley? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carried. We are administrative report.
All right,
Lauren.
under communications, report from our social media report card from March through May 2023. And a report from the North Lakes Dental Outreach Program for 22-23 stated that 447 students received care from the free program, including 328 students had their teeth sealed, and we had 1,284 fluoride varnish applications were given for a total of 118,589 in preventative dental care, which was provided. So we want to thank that the North Lakes Dental Outreach Program for their work here at our school district. Also we've got school handbooks. Everybody should have got a USB drive containing all the school handbooks for approval at the August 14th, 2023 board meeting. So we have some homework to do. Building principals will attend that August 14th meeting to answer any questions you may have. And if there's any policies that the school board approves, which will affect student handbooks, those handbook changes will be made before school starts.
Thank you. Mr. Cotter for the maintenance report.
Yeah, maintenance report, our custodial staff they're very busy this time of year. We're really doing the deep cleans, cleaning our classrooms, waxing floors. I've talked to all of them, we're moving along nicely, but just a recognition for all of our custodial staff who are working hard to get our buildings ready to go by the end of August. So, other big one on there, I'm happy to announce, I did do some kind of celebratory this month that our One of the project is officially completed here at the high school. We had a couple software updates that need to occur. That project is now, after 16 months roughly, it's put to bed, which is exciting. So other than that, basic maintenance stuff, getting ready to go for the school year.
Thank you. The WASB correspondence and legislative report. Mrs. Olson.
Right. The Assembly Committee on Education will hold a public hearing on Thursday at 10 o'clock in room 417 north of the state capitol. The committee will receive public testimony on the following bills. Assembly Bill 163 relating to supplying anti-choking devices in school. Assembly Bill 108 relating to the definition of strip search for the purpose of the prohibition against strip searching of people. Assembly Bill 293 relating to defining critical mapping data for school safety plans. And Bill 138 relating to issuing a declaration of equivalency of high school graduation or a general education development certificate. Most of the bills don't change much, other than more specifics and our language change. Utilizing partial veto creativity, similar to that of former Governor Scott Walker, Governor Evers struck year numbers, letters, and words to create annual school district revenue limit increases of $300 to $25 per pupil for each year of the 23 through 25 biennium, and then for the next 400 years until the year 24-25. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos said Republicans are preparing to sue over Governor Evers' partial veto that increased public school revenue limits for the next 400 years after the 23-25 budget cycle.
Very interesting.
Just so you know,
Is
they're
that
gonna
money
do
we can count on then?
No, I'm not saying the great irony of this is they're gonna do this again in 2 years. So,
Thank you. The CISA 12 report, Mr. Glanick.
Okay, we didn't have our June and July full meetings. We had a couple special meetings. They had 2 new hires, an education consultant and the mental health coordinator. And then our last special meeting was to approve the official sale of the building that they had, and they should be all moved into the new building. And our next in-person meeting is August 15th.
Can we drop in and ask them for their? Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin, donations?
We had no donations this month.
Okay. And student, staff, and community recognition.
I would like to just give a shout out to all of our custodians for the great work they've been doing in the building, and our coaches that are working with the students in the mornings in the weight room and on the athletic field, just getting the kids trained, and I think that program's been awesome. So
Summer school, awesome thing too. So thank you. Comments from the audience? You three. The comments from the public agenda item is not the forum for school district of naval personnel concerns. The public needs to refrain from the use of names or specific positions when used in a negative manner. If you have concerns that involve personnel or staff members, please contact the building principal or the superintendent. And we have no comments from the audience. With that, I'll call for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion for adjournment.
Mr. Ronick,
Second.
Olson, all those in favor?